Hi, everybody, and welcome to the webinar, a small business crash course in hyperlocal marketing. My name is Steve, your host for today, and I'm joined by Gabe Brunk, one of Surefire Local's incredibly smart digital marketing strategists. Two quick housekeeping items. In case you're unfamiliar with who Surefire Local is, our mission is to help you make online marketing easier by providing your business with a next generation platform that's available everywhere you need it, that's across browsers and devices. We provide you the software you need to attract customers and grow profits efficiently, all from one convenient place. And the webinar today is being recorded. You will receive an email later this afternoon with a link to view the replay and view the presentation here. So feel free to sit back, listen, and take it all in while you're here with us. And you can engage with us at any time using the questions tab you should see in the GoToWebinar control panel. And then you can also share any feedback or questions by emailing marketing@surefirelocal.com, which you also should see on the screen right now. And Gabe has a great presentation for you today, covering just what hyperlocal marketing is and how it can set you apart from your competitors. And then he'll share 7 key strategies you can use to reach your target audience more effectively and build an impressive local online presence for your small business. So with that, I'm going to pass things over to you, Gabe.
Thanks, Steve. Hey, everybody. My name is Gabe Brunk. As it shows here on the slide, I work for Surefire Local as a senior customer success manager. Been here for about 2.5 years. Love doing these webinars, talking about this type of information. So we'll jump into it. I love questions, so any questions you have about the presentation, please drop them in the chat off to the side, and then we will get to them if we have the time at the very end and walk through it. So general goal of today, what is hyperlocal marketing? We're gonna run through what the term means, how it works online, how people find you, and then part 2, once we go over that, we'll talk about what the different strategies we've seen work. Surefire's been working at this for decades. We have a lot of different companies we work with, a lot of strategies we've seen work, so different ways to make it work for you. So first off, what is hyperlocal marketing? Most of the companies we work with are small, medium, large companies that have a service area. They have a specific place that they want their customers to find them. So when we talk about hyperlocal marketing and the goal to target that, it's marketing that is focused on reaching a specific audience within a certain area. You want your companies or your customers to find you when they're searching for the services you provide within a particular geography that you serve. So when you think of, say, Amazon, they are not a hyperlocal, they are national, they're international. A lot of companies are local, though they want to target customers within a certain geography. If somebody contacts you from outside that geography, still okay. It means that they recognize you as a knowledge source, but not necessarily someone who you're going to be able to help if they're not local. So when people go online, when they want to look for a service and they are looking for somebody local to them, there's a lot of different ways they'll search for you online. They'll use specific phrases with things like near me, looking for people in a specific city. So they might look for the service, look for the location it is. And as smartphones, as voice search becomes more common, there's a lot of new and different ways people are starting to search for this. Things like the phrase near me now are exploding, 500% growth over the past 2 years. As again, people move towards smartphones, they start asking this when they're on the go. So making sure to set up your digital presence in a way that helps you target people searching for these types of phrases and goals is very important. Phrases like best and right now, growing 125% growth. So again, different terms that are becoming much more common now than they used to be in terms of how people are finding you. A lot of the times when we start working with customers, we start with looking at their website, making sure it's optimized, making sure that people can find you, but we have to always put the caveat in there, your website is only one way that people find you. It is a very important way, it's kind of the home base about how people find you, but we see about 73% of your customer engagement online happens off your website. So 27% happens on your website, the rest of it is people finding you in different ways. We'll run through a few of those. Some of it is your Google Maps, it's your directories, and so we'll dive deeper into that as we go through this presentation. Google and some marketing companies out there have done research, and Google does not tell us specifically what they're looking for. when they decide who will rank in different places in a search results page, but very smart SEO experts out there have researched it. These are the types of factors and the percent, how important it is to show up in certain places. So local pack is Google Maps. You'll see your Google My Business page is the highest factor for that. So making sure your Google My Business page is completely set up correctly. It's you're getting reviews, you're getting information on your website. You'll see the different pieces of your online presence matter differently for showing up in different places. So it's not about trying to target one particular thing like your Google My Business page or getting reviews and just doing that, because it will help. But there's a lot of different pieces that go into these factors when Google decides who to show in certain search results. So it's more about targeting everything regarding that, and you'll help show up in different places better. When Google looks at companies, these are the factors they consider when they try to decide how they should show you. A lot of different ways these play in, but these are the main categories. So recency, when you're creating information, when Google is looking at your website, when they're looking at your reviews and they're looking at anything about you, how new is that content? If you just post content and leave it, once it gets 2, 3, 4 years old, Google's going to start saying, okay, you know, this was relevant when it was posted. Is it still relevant? The same way if you went out and were looking at, say, a textbook or a news article, if the news article was posted in the last year or last week, that's relevant. If it's 5 or 6 years old, probably not quite so relevant now. So recency is a big factor in that. We want to keep creating content across the board to create new and updated visions of who your company is. Talking about hyperlocal marketing, distance is a factor. What is your service area? How far will you go to help customers? How should they find your office? Important pieces of information you want to have spread across the web so that Google knows, do you help this customer in their local area? And also, you know, will they come to you if they're looking for the work? Prominence is how many other companies are recommending you. This can be things like getting reviews. The more reviews you have, that's past customers saying this is a great company, you should work with them. If other companies have your website listed on their website, it's basically them saying, here's a company that we think has some good information, you should go check them out. So different ways to build prominence in your online visibility. Relevance is your content useful? Is this going to help customers? Google is essentially a giant filing system. Whenever somebody goes on to Google and does a search, Google wants to find the information that is most relevant to that search. So are you writing blogs about questions that customers in your area ask? Does your website talk about your services in a very comprehensive manner that helps people know that you're the right person to help them? So looking at the relevance of your information. And then availability is a newer one. It's, are you open? If somebody contacts you at 9 or 10 p.m., can you help them? Will you be able to pick up the phone? Are you open on weekends? These are the sort of things that Google takes into account, because if somebody is searching for a service, Google's going to want to show people who can actively help them in that moment. So that's a factor to think about as we look at the whole online visibility. So that's kind of an idea of what goes into hyperlocal marketing, what Google's looking for, what clients are looking for. And then the next step, what Surefire works on every day, is what are the different strategies that work to help give Google and give clients the information that they need to look at your business and say, this is the right fit for what I'm looking for. So we'll run through a couple of different strategies. None of these are standalone. These all work in conjunction with each other. So it's not like, again, you don't pick just email marketing or just content or just advertising. Each one of these plays a role in growing and giving the information to Google that they need to help your business grow, help revenue grow, help customer base grow, reviews grow, all of that. So we'll start with your website. Again, about 27, 25% of how people will interact with you online and find your information. First piece to look at is, what is your company's URL? Now, this is the name of your website online. You can call it your URL. It exists in a couple different pieces. Protocol domain name is the piece that you'll show most people. So for instance, info.surefirelocal is kind of the name of your website. Top level domain is .com, .net, .co, .org, whatever you've set up for your website's domain name. And then every other page on your site will have a path, which is kind of like if you created a filing system in your drawers. This is basically the filing system for your website. It's where does a particular page or particular piece of information live on your site. A couple different ways to set this up. For instance, for a company, Gabriel Contracting, if you have a residential roofing page, you'd want to have it under gabrielcontracting.com/residential roofing. Helps clients know where they are on the page and also helps Google know where they should send you. If you get additional stuff, like for instance, if you're doing hyperlocal marketing and you want people to find you for particular cities or particular areas, then we set up stuff like name.com/areas we serve, which would be its own page. And then under that, Vienna, Virginia, that's where our company is located. You would set this up not just for your home city, but for any city where you live. And the importance of this from a hyperlocal marketing standpoint is this gives people a full scope of where you work. So for instance, setting up your service areas page, list where you work. This both gives Google that information, and then if a client is trying to see if you do work in their area, this shows them whether you do or don't work in their general area. So this is an example of a client that has a bunch of cities. Each one of these cities that has a little red link will go to a sub page that talks more about that particular city. In addition, talk about where you're physically located. So in addition to where you serve, talk about what's your location, what's your phone number. We call this your NAP data, or name, address, and phone number. Three of the main pieces of information you want to very easily show online, as Google will look for that information consistently across all of your listings online. If you have your name, address, and phone number consistent everywhere, that's great. If you start having different phone numbers or slightly different names or businesses or locations, that can confuse Google's algorithms, and they might not show you as high because they say, is this the same business? They might get confused. So making that consistency there is really, really important. As well as, like we showed in the service area page, show people what your service area is. And we have some technology, a program called GeoJuice, which you can see off to the right here, which helps you do little check-ins, and each check-in shows a little dot in the map. This starts to really show people what your service area is, so that at a glance they can see, does this company come out and visit and do work in the area where I'm looking to have my job done. In addition to the front end, which is what clients see, you can get into the back end, which is more what Google's algorithms see, which is equally as important. Local schema is basically like tags or a summary description of not only, the front end is, for instance, what clients will see off to the left. Off to the right is the code. This is what Google looks at. Having schema set up to show your address, to show your service areas, allows them kind of a shortcut to see and read what's on the website. So having this set up across your entire site is important. It's a very technological thing you need to set up in the background. You can go to schema.org if you want to see more about what schema is, but this is something that we make sure when we build sites to set up. And then as the website is updated, keep the schema updated too, to show Google what your service area is, services you provide, all that fun stuff. This is a list of, just a quick little list of different types of SEO features and what people need to put on it. You'll see schema is one thing that a lot of people do not put on their sites. You'll see title tags are on a lot of sites. And then as you get down to schema, it's something that is often forgotten or left off, but it is very important. So something to keep in mind if you're having a site built, make sure you're asking, is schema involved, to make sure that Google's algorithms can read my information correctly. In addition to that, making sure your site is mobile friendly. There's some tests you can do. Again, when you get this webinar, you'll see some links in the top right to do some tests for yourself to see how your site is set up. As we move into more and more technology in our daily lives, smartphones are becoming the norm. Lots of people are accessing your website from their phones. Lots of them are calling you through your website on their phones. You can see majority of traffic at this point is mobile, 52%. People are reading emails on their phones. I'm sure most of you do this. 66% of people are reading emails on their smartphones. And then 52% of pay-per-click, or it's a type of Google advertising, will happen from phones too. So as you set all this up, you want to make sure you're not only optimized for a pretty website and a website that performs well, but also that it is set up that when users search for you online, they'll find you there too, through their smartphone. Speed of your website's a big factor. The faster it loads, the better. 47% of people would like a site to load in 2 seconds or less. If it gets to become closer to 3 seconds to load a site, you'll start losing people. 40% of customers will leave a website if it takes more than 3 seconds to load. Again, want to make sure this is set up both for desktop and mobile, so that it's optimized for any way a customer searches for you. And again, if you get back to the stats of it, a 1 second delay in page response can drop down a 7% reduction in conversions, meaning that less people will come to your site if they start leaving because it takes too long to load. Maybe you have videos that are on the site slowing it down. Maybe you have unoptimized photos that take a long time to load. People will start leaving because they're often looking for a really quick piece of information to see if you're the company for them. they'll stop coming to your site, stop contacting you if it takes them a while to get there. So speeds it, piece to think about on a site, things you can do to update that, compress the size of the files to make sure that images are loading quickly. Each time you have a link on the site, that can blow it. So browser caching, a lot of tech stuff you can do in the back end and that we do when we build sites to make sure that your sites are performing as well as they can and people can find the information they need. Always a lot more you can dig into, but that's sort of an overview of what will help your website perform well locally. Listings, we call these directory listings. This is essentially the yellow pages online of how Google and clients will research you to see are you who you say you are, and finding all that information we talked about in a lot of different places. The primary directory listing that people will find you on online is your Google My Business page. This is what shows up in Google Maps. This is what shows up if somebody searches your name. That shows your Google reviews. It shows any photos you've added to your gallery. It shows any questions and answers about your company. I call it your second website because it's that important. Getting this updated and keeping it updated is one of the primary things that we work on, and it has a huge impact on people contacting you. A fair amount of people will find your Google My Business page and call or text you straight through this without even visiting your website. Some use it as a way to find your website and visit you there. It's a very important piece of your online presence that you want to make sure you have 100% complete. A lot of people don't do that though. 56% of people have not claimed their Google My Business listing. Like a lot of other directory listings on there, Google will sometimes create a listing for you if it doesn't exist. If they see you as a relevant piece of information in the community, you might have a Google My Business page for your business, even if you have not set it up. Just like a lot of these listings, they're trying to provide the best piece of information they can to their clients. Sometimes they create it themselves. So going on to Google My Business, searching for yourself, and if you are not currently managing your GMB page, get access to it. It's a pretty easy process to prove that you're the owner. They'll mail you a postcard to your address, etc. So get that access, and once you get that access, optimize it. So once you get your GMB page set up, it is not just a static thing like your website. You want to make sure you're continually adding information to it. You're getting new company reviews. You're making sure your categories are set up correctly, adding new photos, posting posts through it. This is one of the primary ways people will access your company online. And the more you utilize it, the more Google will reward you with visibility and contacts. Google My Business is the primary directory listing people will access you through, but there are a lot more. There's 70 to 80 that we connect into. A lot of them you've probably never heard of. I've probably not heard of them much either even. But the goal of this is these are the places where people can find you online. Search engines like Google, Bing, Yahoo, review sites, different places you can get reviews online, social media accounts, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, as well as some less used ones like Snapchat or Pinterest. Different age people will access these separately. So getting tagged on all of them helps you to get a really full picture. And you'll see off to the right a few of the other ones that we tag you in. Google will often skim through these, and if they see your information is consistent across all of this, it helps to reinforce that you are who you say you are. They find the same information everywhere, so it's important to get into as many of these as possible. Our software automatically syndicates your information out to all of these, so you don't have to worry about going in one at a time and double checking if it's correct. Going back to your name, address, and phone number or your NAP data, make sure that that is consistent everywhere. Make sure that your hours of operation are the same. Make sure that the way your name is spelled is consistent, so Google knows that you're one company and not two different companies with similar names. Make sure your phone is formatted the way that Google wants it, etc. So the more consistent your information is, the more sure Google is that you are who you say you are, and they'll reward you for it. Reviews. This is how past customers show their either pleasure or displeasure in how you worked with them. Google takes this massively into account when they're deciding how much should they show you to future customers. If you have a lot of unhappy customers, Google is not going to be as likely to show you because they don't have the confidence that you will do a good job. Conversely, if you have a lot of very good reviews, that helps prove to Google that you have a lot of customers you've helped, you do the job right, and they will show you because that means you're the best person for the job. So a lot of what we work on is when we go back to the quantity, quality, relevance that we talked about earlier, same stuff happens for reviews. You want to get as many new reviews as possible from customers. We try to shoot for at least 3 to 4, especially Google reviews, but you'll see off the right here, there's a lot of places that you can get reviews. Each place somebody will see you there. Google reviews, people will see the most, they're the most important, but having your presence spread out is always good. The more people that view a certain site, the more helpful reviews from that particular site are. So for instance, Google, Facebook have a lot of visitors. Yelp does too at this point. So the more people that visit that site, the more influential that review is. If you get a review on Google, it will get more views than any other review. So ways to do this, we have software that helps you request reviews, reply to reviews. When you're talking face-to-face with a customer, if they're happy, ask them for a review. It's your way of saying, I appreciate that we could help you with your business. We would appreciate it if you would leave a review to help future customers. If you get positive reviews, if you get negative reviews, there's ways to make all of them work for you, but getting them in the first place is the most important thing. And then we go back to recency. If a review is written within the past 2 weeks, that's the ones that'll be seen the most. Older reviews do still matter, but since your company is changing, your staff changes, your location changes, et cetera, the way you do your work, customers want to see new reviews. They'll take those into account more. They know it's a current view of your company and situation. Different types of reviews are important. We talked about this a little bit. That list from before, we call those third-party reviews. Things like Google, Facebook, Yelp. These are reviews that are stored on other websites, meaning they're third-party. First-party reviews are websites that go, or reviews that go specifically to your website. Also important, also different links you can send out, places you can get these set up on your site. These, Google likes to see these too, and you'll see in this one example for the website, it's also showing the number of first-party reviews and the quality. So again, spreading out as much as possible since people look for you different ways and research you in different ways. Going back to this piece of it, every review has this piece of information. It's how relevant is that review? Did the person that left the review give a lot of good information about the service you provided? How recent did they leave it? If they left it within the last 2 weeks, it's going to help you the most. Distance. When they talk about where the review was posted from, that helps to show what the service area is. And then prominence. Did they use terms to talk about what your service was? And then also, where is the review posted? If it's a Google review, best type, other types help as well. So each review helps you in these ways. A couple other stats. On average, if you can raise, if you respond to reviews, every review you get, if you respond to it, on average, you will go up about 1/4 of a star, which over the course of everything you do is fairly important, meaning that if customers see that every time you get a review, you post even a quick response back showing that you're engaged with customers, they like that, and in general, customers will be happier. In addition, this directly corresponds to revenue. And if you can go up 1 star on average, it generally equates to a 5 to 9% increase in revenue. Meaning that if you have a 3-star average on Google and you manage to get it up to a 4-star, you could expect to see a 5 to 9% increase in revenue as more people decide to choose you. You're shown more on Google. People are generally predisposed to be happy towards you. They'll contact you, easier to close deals, and then your revenue will go up. So this is not just a void. This directly impacts how your company performs. Content is a wide-ranging subject. There's lots of different ways to post content, but as we go back to the analogy of Google as a filing system, if they are seeing the right content coming out from your company, that's what they show to people in searches. This is the type of ways you can send content out. Post blog posts to your website. Each blog you post is essentially another page on the website that gives Google more information about the services you offer. It can help to answer client questions. So if I go online and search for a question in Google, if your blog talks about that question and helps me find the answer, Google's more likely to show that blog in a search results page. Post videos, post these to YouTube. You can link them to your website. You can post them to social media. It's a way to both show customers that you are a knowledge source for the topic that you're a master in, and also just another way that they can interact with your business online. Images are great. Our GeoJuice software helps you post images directly to your website in about 30 seconds, but also adding images to your Google My Business page, to your website directory listings, or to your gallery pages. A lot of different places that love seeing images about the services your company performs and the quality of them. Infographics show a little piece of information, podcasts, social media, lots of different ways you can interact with customers through the content you create. And then in addition to creating content, post about where it was taken. Social media, talk about the service area you perform. In the titles and headers, put the cities you work in as a way of showing Google and clients what your service area is. In the file name of the file, in the descriptions, talk about events. These are all ways to help show potential clients where you work, and gives Google and clients that information. Different places content can be seen. All of these images are from different places in a Google search. Top one where it says all, that is content on a website page that is relevant to the search showing up. So you'll see that the search in this case was roofing contractors, Washington, D.C. In the all category, you'll see words that are bolded are words that were put onto this page on a website that help Google recommend that site. So Washington, D.C., roofer, roofing contractor, roofing company, because the terms you search for are related to that search shows up in a result. Under images, you'll see here's a photo that was added to that site that says Washington, D.C., long roofing. That's the title of the picture. It's showing up in Google image search because Google says this image is relevant to this search. Down at the bottom, videos. Here's a video that someone put online that the name of it is roof replacement and installation. It talks about the company name. It talks about what they're providing. Again, relevant information that Google is showing because they think it'll help the client answer whatever question they have. Going back to Google My Business and photos, the average Google My Business page only has 11 photos on it. If you can get more than 11 photos onto your Google My Business page, you are automatically above the norm. We see clients that get upwards of 100, 200 photos over time can get drastically higher interactions with those photos and the Google My Business page as a whole. As clients look through those, it helps Google see that a lot of people are accessing your page, just helps them to, again, be sure of who you are and show you in more results. Advertising. So in addition to everything else, which essentially is content you can create for free and upload to Google, advertising is paying different companies to put you in a higher slot than you would show up naturally. This is not by any means an exhaustive list of how you can do it. These are some of the ones we see the best return on investment from. Google advertising is pay per click. That is where if you search for somebody and you see their ad in a search results page and it says ad next to it, that's a Google ad. It's a great way to advertise particular services you want to grow in a particular service area and have your ad show up when otherwise it might not. Local service ads are open to particular verticals and particular types of work. Really good, really cheap if you can get into it. Highly recommend that for every roofing company I work with, as well as some other categories. Bing ads, very similar to Google ads, but in the Bing platform. Facebook ads are more of what we call a display ad. It's photos and slight descriptions about your company that will help people on social media that follow you come to find your website. Yelp, another type of pay-per-click ad, so that as people that are searching on Yelp for your services helps them find your website. So a couple different recommendations. Google ads in general, for every dollar you spend, Google sees a general return of $2. So if you have a $1,000 budget, the goal would be to make $2,000 off of that in that given month. Sometimes it's more, but that's the goal of what we try to shoot for, meaning return on investment. As you set up your ads, again, talking about the hyperlocal side of it, make sure that you're targeting the correct information and especially the correct geography. You don't want to set up your ads to show in places you don't want to do work, because then you're essentially paying Google for additional website visitors who are not going to be able to use your services since they're too far away. So as you're setting up ads, make sure you're setting the city, state, town, zip code, a lot of different levels you can do. If you serve a full state with a service, set it for state. If you only want a very particular type of geography to find you, set zip code. Anything in between helps to get people coming to your site who you specifically want. As you create these ads, say if you're starting a Google pay-per-click campaign, create pages on your website that what are called landing pages, meaning that if somebody goes and finds your ad and clicks on it, this is the first page they will see on your website. It directs them to this page. You want your page to be specific to the ads you're running. So if you're running a roofing replacement ad, make sure you have a very well built out roofing replacement page on your site that's relevant to the service area and type of service you do. This helps when people come to your site, they say, oh, this is exactly what I'm looking for. It helps with conversions, meaning a higher percentage of people will contact you because they know that they're coming in for the right service. A lot more to dig in with advertising, but just a general overview of how you can use it with hyperlocal marketing. Email marketing is something that is very easy to do and can show pretty good returns. Return on email marketing in general is about 32 times. This is very cheap to do. Essentially, all you have to do is write an email, send it out a bulk email list, and with the goal of connecting with past customers, reminding them of the services you do, and then as you send out these emails, a certain amount of people will contact you back. and then you just get some revenue off that. So if you send one email back, even if you get just a couple of people responding, almost no work done on your side, and you're starting to get return customers coming back. A lot of ways to build these email lists that you're trying to send out. If you have a blog, you can write a blog article asking people to sign up. You can put pop-ups on your website to say, hey, please sign up for our website. You can put links to this in your email signature, any kind of discounts. If you have home shows you go to, have a sign-up list. And even if people have contacted you for work in the past, great way to start getting names, phone numbers, to start sending messages out to people to get them to come back and work with you. In addition to general emails, you can also set up location targeted email campaigns. So if you're client management software or you have a way of tracking where a particular customer is from, you can set up emails that target people in a specific area. So kind of like Google pay-per-click, if you say, I want to target this service in this particular area, maybe it's a wealthier area, maybe you know that people there need the service, maybe there was a storm damage that happened there. There's a lot of reasons why you might want to target a smaller subset of your general area and target people in that particular one with messages like nurturing leads, reminding people who you are to build your brand awareness, trying to get people to become lifelong customers with campaigns, getting, if you do commercial work, trying to get some foot in the door with maintenance, getting people to know who you are, spread awareness about a promotion, a lot of reasons you might want to send out an email campaign. Beyond that, branding. This is one of the harder pieces of marketing to actually nail down what your branding, how powerful your branding is, but we know it's super, super important. It's what people think about when they think about your name in your area. 84% of searches are discovery searches, meaning that people are not looking for you specifically. They're just trying to see who can help me in my area. Once they find you, if they already have a preconceived idea of who you are based on your name, if you see a company and say, oh, I've heard of them, I saw them at that event, or I saw them sponsoring that, or I've heard their name before, I've seen their trucks around, all of that is branding. It's what does a company, or what does a person associate when they hear your company's name? With your online presence, this is a part of it. Your brand includes your name, your logo, phone numbers, an address, years in business. This is all stuff that helps people know who you are, that you're a solid piece of the community, and that if they work with you, you have the tenure to do a great job for what they're looking for. Citations are the same type of information on your different sites, your website, review sites, local listings. These are all sort of solid pieces of information that help people when they're researching you prove that you are who you say you are, like we've talked about. And then content, this is the consistent information you're sending out, like blog posts, adding photos, videos, social posts, etc. The stuff that people will see when they research you, but also some of the stuff if they're following you on social media, if you're posting to Facebook groups, helps them remember who you are when they're actively searching for the services you provide. Great way we've seen, if you're in a local community, again, talking about the hyperlocal focus, get involved in your community. It's not just about providing your service, but charities, give money to charities, sponsor events, sponsor sports teams, be involved in fundraisers, get involved with local organizations. Your work is benefiting people in your local community, and if you can reach out to those people before they need the work, you're getting your name out there, you're getting ads up, you're getting your name around, getting yourself associated with more than just the service you provide. It gives a really good first impression when people see you. When you're doing one of these things, if you're donating to a charity, you're sponsoring, these are the types of things you can ask for as ways to get your brand represented stronger. Ask if there's an ad you can put in a newsletter or a flyer for the event, advertising on an app, getting a book or a tent at the event, get your name out there, getting your website link on their website's a great one to help drive traffic from their site to your website, getting your logos put across their stuff, media spots on television, radio, etc. So a lot of this stuff is just ways to get your information out there so that people know who you are by the time they're looking for your services. A last service that is a little bit specific to certain industries, but is also very important is weather. People look for certain services more when there's certain types of weather. Seasonality can both be what time of the year it is, but especially is there storm damage that hit your area? Things like, was there a lot of rain, which leads to a lot of leaks? Was there storm damage from hail, for instance, that might need to do replacements or get some siding replaced? Heat, drought, a lot of things that can make different industries go up temporarily while people are searching for that. So as you're talking about any of this stuff, whether it's email campaigns, Google ads, anything that is location based, have a plan in place ahead of time for what you're going to do when bad weather hits your area. Don't wait until it hits and then start scrambling around trying to figure out what you're going to do. Have an ad campaign set up, have a newsletter ready to go out that you could just tweak the location where the damage is done and then hit people with that. Facebook ads, there's a lot of different things you can set up for this. So that's the general idea behind localized services and how to help yourself show up. So one thing you can do to get an idea of where your company is currently sitting is simply doing different searches. Go online, search for the services you offer around the area, whether you just put in, service, or you put in service and then put a city in. See where your company is showing up. And remember, there's hundreds of keywords that people will use, so you'll show up for different ones, but where are you showing up? If you go and do a search, are you showing up in paid advertising? Is your website address showing up in organic? Are you showing up in Google Maps? Do you have images showing up in Google Images? Have you posted videos to your YouTube account that are showing up in Google Videos? These are all places your company can and should be showing up. And then of the information you see, check where it's showing up, and then of what you're seeing, is this information up to date? Because information about your company, Google will find what it can. If you don't have any recent information, it'll pull what it has. And so if you're not consistently adding information, some of the information customers see might be out of date. Do you need to go and update it? Do you need to add more information, et cetera? Just as a way of making sure your online presence is completely up to date. So I'm just going to read this verbatim because it's very important. The more complete and accurate your information is, the easier you'll be able to match with the right searches, resulting in more visibility. You want your information to be complete everywhere. You want it to be accurate everywhere. That helps Google and clients find you easily. And the easier you are to find, the more people will find you, because people want to get information quick. They want to find the right person. They want to make sure that you're the right person to help them out. Surefire has built our entire setup, both our software and our marketing strategy, around these goals. We are a hyperlocal marketing company. These are some of the things we actively work with. I work with customers multiple customers a day on this, and we'll do things like try to grow their search rankings higher. All the stuff we talked about helps with search rankings, whether it's your organic, whether it's your maps, whether it's local service ads, Google ads. It's a holistic approach to make sure you're showing up everywhere you need to be showing up. Get your productivity better. The software we have in the marketing platform, if you haven't seen it, ask for a demo. It's really cool. We're continually updating it. We work with it every day. It's really nice. It will help you be more productive because it takes all this information, and instead of you needing to jump around and look at each piece individually, logging into Facebook, logging into the back end of your website, it puts it all into one piece of software where you can easily see it. Cost effective because you're not having to have people in-house doing all this stuff for you. It can outsource it to us to make it cheaper for everything to happen. Make sure all your messages are consistent. It's easy to see what you're posting to each source to make sure that you're saying consistent stuff. And then just in general, me and the rest of my team, this is our bread and butter. We have years of experience doing this. This is what we do, so we have a lot of expertise. So highly recommend reaching out, ask for a chat, reach out to me if you have any questions. Always happy to chat. And if you have any questions, please drop them into the webinar link. I'd love to answer anything you guys are asking or wondering about. And I'll turn it back over to Steve at this point.
Gabe, thank you so much for taking us through all of these strategies and tips. There was definitely a lot to unpack there, and you shared a ton of great insights. So this recording is going to be really valuable. And now I would like to offer everyone the opportunity on this webinar to learn more about how Surefire Local can help you and your business make all of what Gabe discussed easier. So you're going to see a poll appear on your screen. Let us know if you'd like to join a call with us to see what it's like running your marketing on an all-in-one platform, or if you're not just ready yet, that's okay too. Either way you answer, we're just glad you came to hang out with us for this hour. And if you are interested, we will reach out to you after the webinar with next steps. And Gabe, we did have one question that I wanted to ask you. So Bobby asks, when ad targeting to zip codes, is it targeting the people and devices who live in the area or people who happen to be in the area at a given time? Is there a way to only target people who live in a particular zip code area?
That's a great question. So there are options So in general, it will be whoever's in that zip code. If you're on a device that is pinging off the cell towers, if you're on a physical device where the IP address is listed there, that's who can visually see the ads. I believe, and I have to double check with my ads team, I believe there are ways to set it up so that only people that have been in the area for a certain period of time can see it. But it is basically Google relying on the location data of the person searching at that moment because they're trying to be very up to date. So for instance, if somebody works in the area, there are things we can do to help cut that out, but in general, they still would be able to see your ad. So if you reach out to us, we can double check to see if there's any deeper dive we can do into ads to find that, but that's sort of the general way of how Google Ads would work.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
All right, Bobby says thank you. So I'm gonna close up the poll. Thank you everybody who have voted. So as I wrap things up and we say goodbye, again, I want to thank you, Gabe, for hosting today's webinar, and also a huge thank you to all of you for taking this time out of your day to spend it with us. I hope to see you back on future webinars and that you learned something today. If you do think of any questions after the fact or as you're watching this replay, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can send us an email at marketing@surefirelocal.com or call that phone number you see on your screen, 571-327-3391. We are always willing to help. So until next time, goodbye, everybody.